Right, this is more groundwork on the groundwork challenge for the month of doing 3 days of work on the ground. So if you notice, when I asked him to go, I pet him first, and then when I pet him, told him he's a good boy, then I stepped back, and then I pointed and clucked. He ignored, so I spanked the ground. He ignored, so I hit his butt, and then he goes, "Oh, you mean me?" So sometimes that's how he is. Some horses are more sensitive, some horses are more dull, and he happens to be one of those that you have to kind of let him know, hey, I'm serious. So, and again, this was a situation where I spanked him because I asked him to trot, and I clucked, spanked the ground. He ignored me, so I spanked the butt. He needs to go out on a quicker response. If I cluck, he should move something, walk, trot, and then if I smooch, he should canter. So now, mind you, before I turned on the video, I did have him walk around 3 times each way, so his body was a little warmed up. I didn't want to tape the walkthroughs just because of time constraints. But if you'll notice, now that he's trotting, he's testing me a little. He pulled on my rope. He, is being a little lazy or not staying exactly in a circle, sometimes drifting in or drifting out. So just trying to get the first 5 minutes of get his attention. So there, I slid my hand down the rope, waved at his butt, and changed my body position. So he disengaged and looked at me, which is good. Now I clucked and pointed, ignored, spanked the butt after I spanked the ground because, again, he ignored me. So he went out a little more fast than I wanted. I really only wanted to trot, but because I had to spank him for not going out on the first, remember it's ask, take. So point, cluck, and then if he ignores that, spank the ground. If he ignores that, spank thumb on the butt. And when I say spank, I mean like a tap. It's no big deal, but he just can't be dull and ignore me. So here I'm trying to not over micromanage. I am trying to remind him not to get in my space. He likes to cut the corner on this one side over here sometimes, so I have to usually increase pressure. In this case, I want him to just stop and face me because he listened good. So, and again, I don't want him coming into my space. I can go to his space. I waved the whip at him because he was getting a little oral, which he's a bottle fed baby, so he has a tendency to get mouthy. So I always try to pet him on his head or his body, not his mouth as much, because that's what he wants to do. So here I added the backing circles. I dropped the whip and I'm just using the tail of the rope. Once I get organized here, I'm going to back a circle each direction, and I'd like to do it off cluck and energy. And I'm just looking for one fluid motion. Now I could reward each couple of steps and pet him, which I do here, but I'm kind of asking him because of his age and he should know this at his age and how much we've done this. But see how his front feet got a little stuck there? I want all 4 feet moving, and I want him to yield the hind end. He's trying to crowd me a little bit, not let me get to the hip, so I have to maneuver myself around more, and there's a little bit drama because he's not wanting me to get on the outside of him. I tend to lead him the most on the left, so on the right's a little bit harder for us everything, whether it be rollbacks or backing. The disengaging the hindquarters is easy. Sorry, I'm limping there. I've got a knee brace on my left leg. It's messed up my knee. So anyways, so it helps to not have a horse that pulls on you for sure when you're got a hurt knee. So now let's see, what am I gonna do? I'm petting him here. I'm making sure he's not you don't want him to be afraid of your rope or your whip. So it's fine to desensitize before you sensitize. And you're always kind of, remember I mentioned draw and drive. He's not a horse I need to draw to me. He's more of a horse I need to drive out because he has the draw, no problem. So, but he needs to yield. So I want the left front going over the right front as we do this left turnaround or left roll back, excuse me, right roll back, with the left leg going over the right. So again, I'm clucking and pointing. He went out much lighter. Now he's starting to be a little better. So far we've disengaged hindquarters. We've done a right roll back and right disengage. I need to work on the left side some more, which is his weaker side. But my goal for him this month, now I did add something new here. I'm allowing him to do like a half a circle or a full circle and change directions. And the reason I added that is to get a little bit fancier footwork to get him to move out quicker. So if you have a horse that's a little lazy or dull, the more you get them to move their feet and change directions, like with half circles versus full circles, sometimes that can keep them paying attention more. But you notice he's tripping a little more, but he's doing it, and he's doing it pretty light. So now because he did that good, I'm just going to reward him with an easy circle and then stop him, change again, and he moved out pretty lightly there. So that's what that will do. So if you're working on a horse that needs to move up a little bit more, move out quicker, instead of just multiple 2 or 3 circles, do half circles or 1 circle and change directions. And again, that'll get their attention more on you. He needs to not be looking around. And so when they get to looking around, you can bump their nose and drive the hip at the same time and keep their focus on you. And I feel like that's what he's doing. But I want him going out on a smooch without me having to spank the ground or spank him. So I got after him a little more there because I felt like he's just quitting me a little bit and not keeping the momentum without me having to manage him. So now I'm going to ask him to stop because he listened, and I'm going to remind him to stay out of my space. Remember, I can go into his space, but he can't come into mine, and that's because he's a horse that's a little bit dull and pushy and wants to be in my pocket. And that's bottle fed and in my lap for 2 months of his life when he was born with medical issues. But every horse can be different. Some are going to be reactive, and now there he moved out better. He's still a little close to me, so I get him out on the full line. Then I drove him a little bit more. And again, he's a little lazier, but I don't want to have to keep on him. I want to ask him once, and then he give me a complete circle without me having to overdrive. So I point, and then here he's lazy, so I spank the ground again. He overreacts to that. But I felt like he was going to break to a trot. And so I got after him to keep going. So what I'm looking for is he looks at me and doesn't throw his head. He doesn't goof off. And now he did one where he was halfway decent, but see how he's reactive a little bit there? So I make him stop and listen. So the main thing on groundwork is getting them in the thinking side of their brain, not their reactive side of their brain. And also for our goal for him, for his month of groundwork, in whether it's 10 minutes or 30 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week. See, that time he swung his butt. He's really weak on this side. Rollbacks to the left. He wants to be front endy. So the right front should go over, but he needs to have his weight on his hindquarters. So I need him to go back and then over. And really I should stop on that note, but I popped him because he's getting pushy. He's getting stuck. He'd rather lose his hip than put his weight on his butt. So I need him to go back a step and then over a step. So now I'm trying to get that elevation going with the weight on the butt. He's just really stuck on that side. See how loose his butt is and how front end's stuck? So again, he's just not as coordinated, which we're the same way, right? We're not ambidextrous. We can't always write with our names with both hands. So he's equal on his hindquarters, left and right, but he's heavy on his front end for left rollbacks. He's better to the right. So again, desensitizing. So really I'm going to have 3 goals. Moving out on a lighter cue, backing on a lighter cue. Well, he's already doing better on staying out of my space. And then I need to work on his left rollback. So really there's 4 things that I want to keep focused on him for his groundwork. But again, that's what I recommend. Just pick 2 to 4 things that your horse, it needs a little bit more work on. You can see desensitizing, all that's not a problem for him. And then I'm going to do a little bit of finishing up with face flexing, head down, head left and right, which I've done in other videos. But I'm going to go ahead and end there just for the sake of time. But anyways, this is about, I would say it was about 8 to 10 minutes of groundwork. And then he's ready to throw a saddle on and ride, which, you could do this instead of a ride day. He doesn't need groundwork before I get on. I'm just making extra groundwork videos right now. And then one thing I wanted to add on this one is you can do a circle, stop, and go the other way. Or you can do a half circle, stop, go the other way, half circle, stop, go the other way. And that will get the, and then I also did more backing of the circles both ways with the rope. So I wanted to add that in this video. Thank you so much.